Saiyan Rose Goku Black.
The next day, after a breakfast made by Mio herself, who knew a little about cooking thanks to Whis and her sister Vados who sometimes came to visit her, Whis appeared. It was already around 8 in the morning. "Good morning," the angel greeted kindly after Goku opened the door for him. "Good morning, Mr. Whis," Goku replied as he stepped aside and let the angel pass. "And Mrs. Miu?" I asked, not seeing her in the dining room. "She went to wash the dishes and told me that you were about to arrive," said Goku as he went to the kitchen. "Miu, Lord Whis has arrived," he said to the goddess of destruction. "I know, honey, go start training. I'll go as soon as I'm done," Miu replied with a smile. "Okay, I'll be waiting for you," she replied before returning to the dining room where Whis was. "Mr. Whis, Miu just told me to start training. When I'm done she'll come," she said to the angel. "I guess he'll come to see." Whis thought, "Well then let's go outside," the angel replied, and then the two of them went out. "I'm already starting to get excited," said Goku as he began to stretch his muscles. "Ho ho ho, I hope you keep that enthusiasm," Whis replied while laughing. "So what do I do?" he asked with curiosity and excitement. "Whis, you will carry something heavy in your arms while you walk," the angel answered while he made his staff shine and a kind of black box appeared in front of the Sien. "It seems like something simple," Goku whispered, but when he picked it up it became extremely heavy. I screamed, making a huge effort and barely lifting it to the height of my knees. "Whis, perfect, now you have to walk, but don't be late because the ground behind you will disappear." "Ho ho ho, what did he say?" Goku exclaimed as he looked back and saw how the ground began to disappear. He shouted in fear and began to walk with enormous difficulty without looking back. Several minutes later Miu came out to see how Goku was doing, but when she left she didn't see him anywhere, only Whis was there. "And Goku?" he asked as he approached the angel. "Mrs. Miu. Here it is, look," he answered while a kind of projector came out of the staff that showed the training that Goku was having. I always hated those things. They adjust to your strength capacity and you never realize when you get tired until they fall," said Miu, not very happy to see Goku's training material again. "Was ho ho ho, but you have to admit it's perfect training material, Tisk. I didn't say otherwise. By the way, how many meters have you been doing already?" he asked curiously. "Whis, it's already 127 meters. Honestly, it has exceeded my expectations." "My Goku was impressive," she thought with a proud smile. "By the way, Whis, in my confrontation with him you realized it, right?" said Miu now with a trembling seriousness. "That's right. Although it was only for a second and that led him to surpass his limits and become a Super Saiyan," Whis answered analytically. "Miu, do you think it was pure coincidence?" "Whis, time will tell. That state is almost impossible to reach among the gods and he is only a mortal dash. But something I have learned throughout my life is that coincidences do not exist." He thought this last while looking sideways at the goddess of destruction. "I think, no, I trust that at some point he will master it too," said Miu with a smile. "He trusts Mrs. Miu a lot. Did something happen after I left?" Whis asked, raising an eyebrow. "That's right, I tried a delicacy called pizza," the goddess replied while drooling a little, remembering the taste of the food. "How unfair, Mrs. Miu. I already want to try the delicacy called pizza," Whis exclaimed. "It seems I've reached my limit for today," said Miu, seeing Goku quite agitated and the centimeters. The material was untied from the Saiyan's wrists and fell to the ground just like the Earthling. I can't feel my arms, hee," said Goku as he fell to the ground exhausted. Miu and Whis immediately appeared in front of him. "This is part of the warm-up, Mr. Goku. Now you must do one-handed push-ups," was said animatedly. What's part of the warm-up? Goku exclaimed, standing up while his arms seemed to be hanging down. Before continuing, take a break, darling, to recover some strength, Miu told her with a smile. Goku nodded and let himself fall on the ground, which simply cannot stop being amazed by the attitude of his disciple, who ran towards the house and then came out with a soft drink for the Sien. You'll adapt to training, Goku. The first few months are hellish, but then you don't feel it as much, Miu told him as she handed the soda to the Sien. Thank you, Goku said to the goddess of destruction as he received the soda and then drank a little. I think that if this is the warm-up, the training must be very difficult, right? He asked animatedly before drinking the drink again. Puyu, if you can't even imagine it, Miu said to the Sien with emotion, trying to encourage her partner more. Ho ho ho, sounds like she wants to join the training, Mrs. Miu, was said mischievously, trying to get the goddess of destruction to return to training. Ah, I've already made it clear what I'm going to do, she said while putting her hands on her waist. Don't make me angry, remember that I'm a goddess. Calm down, Miu, said Goku as he stood up again, and made the goddess of destruction calm down upon hearing his voice. Mr. Whis, let's continue please. I'll calm down because I don't want to, not because you told me to, Goku, she whispered while pouting and looking away. As you command, Mr. Goku, said the angel while making a kind of suit appear. Put this on and do 10,000 push ups. 10,000. Goku exclaimed in amazement before starting to put on the suit, which, like in the previous exercise, this suit was incredibly heavy, adjusting to the maximum that the Sien could resist. Minutes began to pass and with them hours. Miu, after an hour of watching her partner do push ups with one hand and head down, went to cook since lunchtime was approaching. 10,000. Goku shouted with great effort as he managed to perform the last push-up and then fell to the ground, creating a small crater which was repaired. Very well done, Mr. Goku. Now comes something that you will like. You will have to try to hit me, the angel said to the Sien. That will be easy, Goku exclaimed as he stood up. Ho ho ho, I wouldn't be so sure. By the way, it's not necessary for him to continue using the suit, was said, and then waited for Goku to take off the heavy suit. I feel so light, Goku shouted after taking off his suit and punched the air several times even though he was tired. You can start whenever you want, the angel told him as he made his staff disappear. Here I go, Goku exclaimed before launching himself to attack Whis, and for some reason he didn't feel the tiredness he felt while doing the exercises. The Sien performed all kinds of blows and combos but could not land any on the angel, so a few long minutes passed, in which Miu went outside while she was taking out the table so she could have lunch outside, and that was where she saw Goku fight against Whis. She could not help but stay like a fool in love when she saw her partner, as well as when she noticed the way he fought made her blood start to boil and want to fight. It was the second time this had happened to her, since the first time was when they fought. Tata-tata-ta, Goku shouted as he threw a series of punches to continue with an elbow and finish with a half kick, all of which was easily dodged by Whis, who moved away from him. You're too slow, the angel said to the Sien. What? He shouted, transforming into a Super Saiyan and suddenly appearing in front of Whis to punch him, which was stopped by a finger of the angel. Very well. Enough for today, said the angel while directing his gaze to Miu, who was with an admiring smile and a slight blush. Whoa, Mr. Whis, I didn't manage to hit him even once, said the Sien as he went towards Miu and saw that she was quite red. Are you feeling okay? He asked her as he put a hand on her forehead. Why yes, I am doing great, he replied before returning to the house to bring lunch. Whis, noticing that the chairs were missing, brought them in one go thanks to his staff and then sat down. I thought I would be exhausted, but I think I could continue fighting, says Goku while clenching his fist again and again, gaining Whis' attention. That's because your body is still warm. Once it cools down, ho ho ho, open it, Whis told him before laughing. The Saiyan gulped when he heard the angel. Seconds later, Miyu came out with the lunch and then went to get the drink. I don't know how it turned out. I hope it's delicious, she said while serving the stew to Goku, then to Whis and finally to her. So yummy, Goku shouted after trying the first bite, making Miyu smile at the compliment. It's really delicious. I could get married now, ho ho ho, Whis exclaimed before continuing to eat but glancing at the goddess of destruction who had turned completely red. Getting married? What's that? Goku asked with some curiosity. Miyu was about to answer, but luckily for her, Whis got there first. Let me explain it to you this way. You and Mrs. Miyu could be said to be boyfriend and girlfriend, or a couple, but it is an informal relationship. When you get married it becomes formal and you become husband and wife, or called in another way, husband and wife. Was finished smiling and taking a good bite of stew. Ah, I understand, he said while directing his gaze to Miyu, who was eating while steaming from her ears. So, at some point we will get married to formalize our relationship, right? He asked while smiling at her. Upon hearing the Saiyan, Miyu's eyes lit up and she shouted with enormous happiness, yes. At the end of lunch, Goku fell to the ground because his body had finished cooling and he couldn't move. At that moment, Miyu had gone to wash the dishes and was laughing at the Saiyan, but then he helped him recover, at least so that he could sit down. Rest for the rest of the day. Remember that tomorrow morning you have to train and I don't want any excuses, was told the Saiyan, who nodded that it was the only thing he could do. After that the angel went to say goodbye to Miyu, told her about how the Saiyan had been left, and then went to say goodbye to Goku and then left. A few minutes later the goddess of destruction came out to keep the Saiyan company, and they were outside until around 5 o'clock. Since then Miyu accompanied Goku to the bathroom to shower. Luckily for her, the Saiyan could already move a little, so he was able to undress alone and shower with hot water. After a while she also took a shower and dressed in the clothes that Whis had brought her, which were the same goddess of destruction dresses that she wore but in different colors. At night, Goku barely went to bed when he fell asleep. Miyu stayed for a few moments looking at the Saiyan while caressing his hair until several minutes later, sleep began to win her over. "Good night, darling," she whispered with a slight smile as she looked lovingly at the Saiyan, then gave him a short kiss on the lips and settled on his chest, causing the Saiyan to unconsciously hug her with his left arm, making their bodies stick together, and then Miyu fell asleep with a slight blush as she felt her skin against the Saiyan's.